Peace and love, and welcome or welcome back to the Palace of Persephone. I just recently, literally just exited out of making one video, but I felt like I was on such a roll, like such an energetic flow, and I am still in that energetic flow, so I'm just going to keep going. So I'm going to burn my Palo Santo, and we're just going to get right into this video, which by the title, I feel like everyone always says that. By the title, you already know what I'm speaking on, but I want to elaborate why I feel the need to speak on it. So, in my last video that I was just in talking about a night terror that I had last night after doing some research into a concert that occurred this weekend with some deaths that happened. You can watch that video if you'd like. I'm not going to bring it up too much again. But as I woke up, I was waking up to the sound of our little nephew, who's like 3 years old. So he's a little, he's experiencing his emotional range. He's learning his own emotions, expressing his emotions. He's kind of tapping into that world in a different way than you do when you're older. And so there are different things that are going to come up that we don't necessarily understand because he's experiencing emotions. He's experiencing emotions in a fresher, newer way. We've experienced things multitudes of times. He's kind of experiencing things as he becomes more conscious too, for like the first time. So as I woke up, I heard him screaming and crying and pouting downstairs, but I was like still kind of in and out of sleep. And I guess I should say before I start this, because my guys are like, hey, don't forget to say this. So there is a little intro that I typically do to just kind of explain the channel and the purpose. Oh, I have an alarm coming up. The purpose of the channel. So with the guidance of my spirit guides, pleading emissaries of light, Lemurian ancestors, ascended masters, I've been called to provide a space for healers, empaths, and all beings of light to receive messages, healing, and downloads. And that's essentially what this channel is for. Through sharing what I feel called to by my guides, I'm still kind of reading it because it's long. Through sharing what I feel called to by my guides, it is my intention that what channels through will reach who it is meant to. Through the new moon and full moon collective spreads that I do, I aim to bring clarity to the astrological time we are a part of, providing guidance on how best to navigate the path so that you may work with the planets for your highest good. Okay. Through my personal work with the collective during distance Reiki healing sessions, it is my personal mission and life path to provide healing, planetarily based healing sessions to all who feel called to receive. Becoming a vessel for universal source healing energy, I honor the Pleiadians and guiding me to the path, the healing path that I am meant to walk this lifetime, that I've been called to walk this lifetime. To become a part of our healing collective, to learn more about Reiki, you can check out my Linktree, my Instagram, Patreon. All of that is in the description box below. So now I'm going to get into the video. So he was crying, he was experiencing his emotions, and as I was hearing it, it wasn't like he was kind of like in that energy where you're like, you can tell little kids like mad or like no, and they're like kind of like crying and angry to get a rise out of you, like they kind of want to spar emotionally with you. And as I was hearing this, it like tapped me back into being a little kid, and I was hearing like I was experiencing some of the moments when I was a child where I used to get hit. And I'm trying not to use the word spank in this video because I feel like that is an easy way for us to lose the real intention of what occurs when you get spanked, which is getting hit. We call it spanking, which makes it feel less, like you're getting hit because there's a new word for it. So you're not actually saying what's occurring. So I'm going to say hit because that's what happens. You get hit. Correct? Correct. So I was tapping into being a little kid and getting in trouble for something and getting hit by my mother. My father was not present as I was growing up, so she did have to take on a masculine role at times. So some of that is like leads into why I feel like she chose to assert that kind of physical authority over my body. And before I get any further down this little hole, I do want to say that I don't place blame on my mother or parental figures who chose to hit me based on what I'm going to be speaking on now. It's not something where you cast judgment. It's just to bring awareness so that you can end the pattern. You can end the cycles and try something different. So as I was tapping into this, as I was hearing it, I like went back to all these little times when I was little, and like you will probably be able to do it too if you clicked on this video, to like remember times that you got hit. Like you remember, like it's not like you could try and like tap into a memory of something really fun that you did as a kid, and it might be harder to tap into than when you got hit. And I'm like, what? So I could tap into times where I got like hit with a spatula. I got hit with just like random things. I don't really remember too many belts, but I remember a couple, and just like with the hands, man. And so, as I was hearing, we don't hit the children. It sounds so crazy to say. We don't hit the children to discipline them. We get down to their level. We make eye contact. We clear out the space by slowing our energy and breathing slowly and connecting to do it. But what it really, and what the purpose of this video is about, what really was brought up for me was making sure that I've healed from those things as a child. Because I went back to that and I was like, because I was still halfway in my dream world. So I was like, has the younger version of me healed from that? Like trying to tap back into the memory of being like 6-year-old me, 5-year-old me, and I did something wrong or did something I wasn't supposed to or wasn't listening, and then I got hit by my parent. Like, am I okay? Like, have I healed from this experience? And the best way, and what my partner said, the best way to heal from those experiences is to recognize that your parent was choosing, or most likely chose, to engage in that. And I know it'll be different for some circumstances based on if your parent had other things within their own personal story and life path, like, incorporating any other substances into their body, which could cause them to do it more than is warranted. But as far as just like a baseline, like my child's doing something they're not supposed to, and I'm trying to give them some discipline, and I'm going to discipline them by hitting them. Most of the time, and I'm not trying to claim it because everyone's truth is different, but from what I'm relaying from my own experience, my mother chose to hit me because she was hit by her mother as a form of discipline. And my grandmother was hit as a form of discipline because her mother and father were hit as a form of discipline. And my great-grandmother and great-grandfather were hit as a form of discipline because their great-grandparents were hit as a form of discipline. And most likely my great-great or great-great-great-grandparents were a part of the slave system that was practiced in North America by people who felt that they had authority over other humans, who would hit you in order to get you to do what you're supposed to, or to work harder, work faster, or do like. And I thought it was interesting as I was going back in this cycle, the generational patterns. I was like, so most likely some of them were enslaved by other humans and were whipped. They literally used a whip. And I was like, is that where the word whooping comes from? Because they got whipped by a whip, and so then they give their child a whooping? Like, is that literally the origins of this word? Like, let me know in the comments, because I really don't know. I didn't do any research. I just kind of wanted to talk about this. And so it's like, well, if they were whipped by that authority figure to do what they were supposed to, and feel like that, I can't imagine that kind of pain, because that's not even like clear-minded. You're not even my parent, like not even a healthy kind of experience. And then to have, like, maybe they had children on the plantation, and then make sure their children are doing what they're supposed to because they're afraid to get hit by their authority figure. Like, well, I gotta whoop you so that you do what you're supposed to because I don't want to get whipped. And so then that child receives that hitting. They're like, they're getting hit by their parent, and so then they grow up, and then they hit their child, and then that child grows up, and then we're just all hitting each other, and like that just makes no sense to me. So I had a kind of interesting journey with this morning, because then I was thinking about my little sister. And I was 14 when she was born. And I remember there'd be times where I would stay at home to watch her. I took care of her a lot when she was like a baby. But like when she got older, into like a more like 5, 6, kind of around the age. I mean, some people start really early with hitting their children. But I remember, she was a little fire starter. She was a little, she liked to challenge authority. So that already primes the stage for, if your parents hit you, to be hit. But I remember she would ask me, like, before she left, she was like, it's okay if she doesn't listen to spank her. And she says spank, but really, if you want to hear it from like how it should be sounded, if she doesn't do what she's supposed to, you can hit her. That sounds effing crazy to say that. Doesn't that sound crazy to you? Like, really remove spank. Like, that's not remove that from the vocabulary and just say hit and see how differently people take it. And then they'll be like, no, it's a spank. And I'm like, what's the difference? What's the difference? Anyhow, so I remember her telling me that and being, I was just like, I didn't want any confrontation with my mother about this. So I was just like, okay, but I never spanked I never hit my sister. I never chose to hit her as a form of discipline. Whenever she wasn't listening, I made sure I really made it very clear with my voice and my words. And I got down on her level because I used to watch some Nanny 911. And Nanny 911 never hit those children. Never. Do you think that she would have a show if she was going around hitting people's kids? It's different when the parent does it. Oh, I'm spanking my kid. But if she went and did it, how dare you touch my child? What's the difference? You're a human hitting another human. I digress. So I remember I would go down to her level and I would say, Stephanie, we do not hit. That is not okay. Do you understand me? If you want to express yourself, then we need to use our words. We do not use our hands. You don't want someone to hit you, so you do not hit someone else. And I would say it very clearly. We'd slow down our energy. And that is not hard. But what I thought about this morning that I thought was very interesting is there's also a parallel to this where there are people who were hit as children. And we need to take the time to forgive our parents because most likely it wasn't just, oh, I want to hit my child. It's like, oh, well, I was hit and that's how I was reared and corrected. So I'm just going to do the same thing. While there are children on this side who were hit as children to be disciplined, there are also children who were not hit, but who were also not disciplined. And these children, when they would be doing something they're not supposed to, and I've seen it, I've witnessed it, and we've all witnessed it, the children whose parents, they don't want to hit them. That's okay. They don't want to hit them, but they also don't know what to do, or they don't care enough, or they don't have enough energy to actually discipline them. So then the child is mad, throwing a fit, and they just kind of like hold them or just ignore them, and then nothing happens. There's no actual rearing occurring. And so then that child learns, well, I'm just going to throw a fit, and I'm just going to throw a tantrum, and eventually, like, they'll either give me what I want, they'll leave me alone. Like, they're not really learning anything, and they're not learning about their emotions. They're not learning how to express themselves. They're not learning anything. And so you can kind of see this example in some people's personalities. But we take both of these worlds where children are getting hit and then children not getting hit but not disciplined, and you put it in the middle to find that balance. Libra moon here, Jupiter and Libra here. You put those together, you have the time to take to sit with your child and recognize, I don't need to hit you. If you're doing something you're not supposed to, I'm going to find it within myself to take the time to end generational patterns right here and take the time to be a parent, because that's a big part of parenting, is teaching your child and teaching them those are like some of the most important moments, is when they're experiencing or doing something they're not supposed to, or doing something that you see is not in alignment with your child. This isn't how my child is. This isn't their highest, brightest, lightest self. So let's work through this. Let's figure this out. What is this? So I was thinking about that because I know it can be exhausting. I know it can be tiring. It's not even my child, but we're helping to raise him by spending time with him. We're going to have moments with him where it's up to us to be like, oh, how am I going to approach this situation? And to take it upon ourselves to break generational patterns, to break ancestral patterns. And like, it wasn't really hard for me to do because I could just never hit somebody. So I was able to just stop it right there, because I just don't know how anyone is able to just like hit a child. And like I said, I'm not casting judgment or any ill feelings towards my mother or my grandmother or anyone who hit me. But I remember my grandfather, he didn't hit us. I don't even, but I didn't really I wasn't like super bad. Like, I think maybe it's a little different when you're with your grandpa versus your mother. I don't know. But I never really did. Like, I don't remember any instances where we really got in trouble. We probably got in trouble once or twice with my grandfather, and he would just put us in timeout or something. And like, then he would talk to us after we were in timeout, because usually like that's to go calm your energy down and to sit and just like be away from the experience. And then he would talk to us about it. And that seems way healthier to me than just like, and like, I was trying to think about other people I saw who got hit as well, because one of my cousins, I feel for him, he used to get hit. Like, his mother was strong, and like, and when you're raising a boy, I think it's different for boys growing up, like, especially if like raised by an only mother, to make sure she feels like she's not going to feel like she's not, doesn't have like her son in a disciplinary state, so that he doesn't like, I don't know if they thought like, I don't know, you never know. But I feel like she felt like she needed to use extra force on him because there wasn't a masculine energy present and he was a boy. So I used to feel for him, because he would be getting like, I was like, I'd be in shock. Like, I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was getting hit. And I mean, I am an empath, so technically I did really feel that. But it always just kind of like it's like one of those, and I think it's like even been a meme where like your parents will hit you and then later on they'll come and hug you. Oh, I'm sorry. And you're like, I don't want a hug from you. That's like setting up the stage for people to be in really unhealthy relationship patterns later on with their significant others as well, where your partner is hurting you. They might not be hitting, they could be hitting you physically, but they could even just be hitting you emotionally, hurting you, and then they come back and love you later, and that's just kind of the cycle that you're used to because that's what you received as a child being reared, and that's not healthy and that's not okay. And so I felt called to talk about this because I know there are a multitude of people within my generation and younger, most likely, and even older that will see this video. And I really wanted to highlight the stage for learning to not call it spanking, to sit with your child self. And you don't really have to go deep into every single time that you were spanked, hit, but you can go back into like and most of the time there are a couple of those ones that you really remember. Take yourself there and sit, like, don't just put yourself into the little version of you, but like be your adult version of you and go to your younger self and be in that moment and like hold your younger self's hand and explain to them like, I know this is mommy or this is daddy or this is your whatever parental figure and they're hitting you right now and that is not okay, but mommy or daddy or whoever it is, they got hit too, and they didn't know any better and they're learning, and that was something that they used to receive, and that's just something that they passed on. They have their own things to work on. You do not need to claim it or own it for yourself, and release that and help the little version be like, okay, yeah, I know they're just working through some things, and it ends with me in releasing that, because I didn't realize, like, when I was sitting with it this morning, I was like, have I healed from that? Have I released those times that I was hit as a child? Especially, I think for me, it's about, I was asking myself that because I could never do that. So I was like, how could my mom do that? Like, really sitting and being like in shock, like, I could never hit a kid. And really, being surprised, I guess, but when it's different. You have to really think about the experiences your parent went through, if you're a single child, a single parent household, and a multitude of things. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to bring that up, and I don't want this video to be super long, so I'm kind of proud that it's already at 17 minutes. I kind of wanted to bring up the fact that we should stop calling it spanking, because it's called hitting. That's just what it is. That's just kind of, there's no other way to put it. Like, if you saw a video and you didn't know what the word spank was, and you saw someone hitting their child, and then someone asked you, so what's happening in this video? You'd be like, that person's hitting that kid. You wouldn't be like, oh, well, they're spanking them. That word wouldn't exist. So I wanted to bring some clarity to that, but I also wanted to bring some clarity about healing the younger versions of ourselves from that, looking at your generational patterns, looking at your ancestral patterns, looking at the habits that were performed. And most of the time, I mean, most of us haven't really sat and spoken with our elders in this way, but I could go and sit with my grandmother and ask her, did you get hit as a child? Do you know if your parents got hit as children? Do you know, like, and kind of just clearing some of that out and healing it for yourself and letting them do their own process of healing for themselves and bring it to your parents and grandparents as well, so they can heal from it as well and recognize, like, oh, we didn't really want to hit each other, and I release that and I don't claim that and hold that in my younger child self anymore, because sometimes you don't recognize that it's affected you, especially if it's affected your relationships. And that kind of just came out as I was speaking. I was like, yeah, that could totally affect your romantic relationships when you're older, is being used to that, like being hit and then receiving love after that, and then like getting used to that cycle and pattern and flow, which is not healthy at all. It can really do some stuff. And also, I wanted to bring up the fact that there are new and healthy ways, and we are supposed to be setting the stage for new breaking the generational patterns and implementing new ways of being here, higher vibrational ways of being here, and claiming our own divine sovereignty over ourselves and our choices and the ways in which we interact with other people, and really recognizing, like, yes, it may be a kid, but that is also just another individual. That's another being. And just because you're bigger than them and have more years of experience than them, you are both still children. And don't put that trauma on them. They don't need that. Okay, they're already gonna have their own work to do in this lifetime. Saturn's gonna do their own work with that person. They don't need any more. So I kind of wanted to bring that to the stage as well. And also just kind of like, please, if you're gonna choose to be a parent, if you're gonna choose to raise another being on this earth, please be as aware of why you're choosing to have a child and the ways in which you choose to rear a child, and be really aware that it's not, It's not just for fun to see what, like, oh, I would just want to have a baby so I can see what it looks like. I just want to have a baby because I want it to see what me and my partner would create. And I've been down that road. I've been like, oh, I just want to have a baby because I want to see what it'd be so cute. Like, no, I feel like some people are really meant to be parents, and like they really choose to do that because they feel called to, and it's something that they know they're meant to do this lifetime. If you don't feel like you're meant to do it this lifetime, you don't feel bad. Not everyone's gonna have babies. That's okay. Some people will, and that's okay. But choosing to treat them as divine beings of light and not tarnish their light and to not dim that vibration by hitting is something that I just felt like I should share today. So that's what I'm doing. So that's what's happened. And that's what I urge. And so if you'd like to talk in the comments with me, please do. If you want to speak on your own experiences of being hit as a child, and if you feel like you've released them, or if you've noticed generational patterns, because most likely, to me, it feels like it must just be like one of those, well, we've always done it. Well, it's always been that way, or this is just what we do. And that doesn't set the stage for any kind of conscious choices. Oh, we just always do it. That doesn't sound like a conscious thought to me. If you know why you do it, that's conscious. Oh, well, we do this because this and this and that. If you're just like, oh, we just always that, there's no thought. There's no like actual processing happening with that. But I digress. So yeah, if you want to talk in the comments, please do. I love to speak in the comments and talk in the comments. And check out my other video if you feel called to, or what else occurs on my channel, because this video and my last video aren't my typical conventional videos that I do on here, but maybe they will become to be the more I feel called to share these things. So definitely check out what else is occurring here in the palace. And yeah, just don't hit people. All right, I'll see you next time. Peace and love.